So last year ended with the Kern County Board of Education being taken over by Christian nationalists with a 4-3 majority. During the meeting, Dr. Reverend Angelo Frazier
Oh, he is a doctor for sure. He's also a reverend.
presented a history of the Ten Commandments in the United States. His argument was that the Ten Commandments belonged in public schools along with other historic documents. He followed the 30 audience speakers, 27 of whom spoke out against the placement. But what exactly were we talking about here? The display of the commandments in a central place on each campus, or the actual placement in each classroom? Cisneros tried to explain what he meant during her comment time.
You're not asking schools to teach religion or Christianity or the Ten Commandments. Is that correct? You're not expecting the teachers to teach.
That's correct.
Okay. You're asking to post the Ten Commandments as a historical document.
That's correct.
I just want to make sure that that's very clear, because I heard a lot of people say, I don't want teachers to teach religion.
A few days later, newly seated trustee Jim Robinson went even further, trying to place the blame for the confusion of the public on an outsider group. In a Facebook post, he said that Frazier said nothing about posting the Ten Commandments in the classroom of Kern County Public Schools. Robinson claimed it was false information that was propagated by a threatening letter by the Freedom from Religion Foundation, who completely misrepresented Pastor Frazier's proposal. But I think both Robinson and Cisneros are just trying to distract of what their intentions are after feeling the pulse of the public speakers that night. After all, it's not surprising that the public and Channel 17 News and the Freedom from Religion Foundation might have gotten the impression when Frazier himself in Moses drag at the September meeting used as an example of what he was talking about.
The new Oklahoma top educator, that's the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma, requires that all public schools to teach the Ten Commandments and the Bible in all schools.
Now, for her part, Cisneros explains that she would not want the Ten Commandments taught in the public school classroom.
I wouldn't have wanted a public school teacher teaching my students about the Bible, because I don't know that teacher. What if the teacher is not a Christian? What if the teacher is a Buddhist and trying to teach Christianity to my child? That teaching part is not what we're discussing here today.
Odd, though, that earlier this year, she had the opportunity of sitting next to the Oklahoma State Superintendent of Schools in Washington, D.C., and approvingly smiled and slapped her leg when he talked about doing just that.
We are very proud that we are the first state in the country to put the Bible back in every classroom in the state of Oklahoma.
And in the 2022 election cycle, current Chair Mary Little, along with Kern High School District Derek Tysinger, made up part of a slate of candidates being promoted by a local church pastor. In this clip taken from a Sunday church service, the pastor explained the importance of taking over local school boards.
School boards right now are the front line. They are ground zero for the culture war that's taking place in our world. We need some godly people on these school boards. They're going to stand up for what is true, stand up for what is right, and protect our children. You may be here and say, well, we all need to just bail out and go to Christian schools. You know, I love Christian schools, but what about all those kids who can't afford to go to Christian school? We need to stand up for them and advocate for them and pray.
But I digress. This is a typical strategy to distract from the real issue. They're trying to change this from whether or not the Ten Commandments should be in our schools to whether they appear as a historical document on campus or actually being taught in the classroom. Kind of reminds me of this scene from the Cold War thriller, The Manchurian Candidate.
They're saying, are there any communists in the Defense Department? Of course not. They're saying, how many communists are there in the Defense Department?
So at the last meeting, only 3 of their supporters spoke up, being overwhelmed by a large majority of those who opposed the move. Be assured they will not make that mistake again, And since the issue is once again on the agenda for January's meeting, it is imperative that we get as many people to come to the meeting as possible. There are planned presentations by ACLU Chief Counsel Peter Eliasberg and Professor Nancy Meyer to explain some of the pratfalls that might face the Board of Education should they take such a move. The Board of Education meeting is this Tuesday, January 14th at 6:30 p.m. at the Kern County Schools Superintendent's Office, 1300 17th Street, Bakersfield.